My name's Lauren Selig. I got to NFT in America actually by way of Colby, of course, many years ago, I would say. Colby was my sort of right-hand guy in anything I ever wanted to do in the blockchain and cryptocurrency space. And he really helped me with any company that I was investing in the early ICO era. I think he told me one too many times the importance of NFTs, and I think for the first 2 times I thought he was just really crazy, and the third time I thought, I totally get what he's talking about. I think what happened was my whole life I've spent time ping-ponging between following and investing and advising people, and those people were in every kind of vertical of company you can imagine. So biotech and deep tech and fintech and blockchain and consumer and gaming. And then all of a sudden when the NFT space popped up and became as frothy as it is, all of those verticals and all of those compartmentalized companies and people I had invested in, the defining lines between all of them just fell apart, and they all started working together, and that became a very exciting moment for me when I hear about and think about the things that are possible out there given technology and NFTs and blockchain and gaming. This is all part of that ecosystem, and so this event, what's been put together, is incredibly important to the longevity of NFTs and art, utility, and just the joy of being part of essentially a new industry and a new way of living. So the answer is I would have loved to have been an artist or an actor or something more creative. I've always loved just being creative in anything, and that could be, in painting and singing and writing, designing, cooking, it could be all those things. I was probably and am still not confident enough to think I could ever be successful in that space. But what I am good at is connecting people and seeing talent in others and believing in them and helping them find the other half of the puzzle piece that they need in order to grow. In terms of sort of my history of art or being an artist, I was very, very lucky at an early age. My family loved art. My grandfather collected art. My father collected art, and he always believed a big part of that was really loving something that you bought and understanding where it came from and why it was done that way. And so I would get to go with him to, every museum you can imagine and go and sit in an artist's house and watch them paint. And I remember sitting in the swing set behind Robert Motherwell's house and watching him paint, or going to Storm King and seeing these extraordinary pieces of sculpture. And that, I would say when I was little, was so annoying because I just didn't like getting dragged to all those places. But as I grew older, I really began to enjoy it. And as a result of that, I've found just a real, true love for art in a different way than I probably would have if I had just been an artist myself. I would say he taught me about what's meaningful about art. And art isn't just painting or sculpture. It can be designing a building or putting together an outfit or creating a song. It's probably why I found an incredible amount of joy early writing, and then later making movies, because putting together a piece of content is an incredibly powerful and artistic experience. And it is also kind of a community experience when you're putting together a movie or a television show. You have a team of people that you really have to work with to make it come together And that is a really fun journey to take. Really great. This gets me back to the whole. You know how your mom or dad always say, like, you're all over the place, focus on something. Well, my all over the place has led me to where I am. And so that's a really cool thing. So Vaxxinity, in 2020, January, a good friend of mine, Peter Diamandis, who runs the X Prize, called me and he said, I really need a documentary crew to come out to Telluride, Colorado and shoot this couple. They're doing this cool stuff. Can you send a team? I said, it's not what I do. I have no idea what you're talking about. But it got us talking, and I realized that what they wanted to do was essentially do a documentary about this awesome couple that were creating at the time the beginning of a antibody and antigen test for what we then later and now know of as COVID. That early conversation, which started off as being, can you make a documentary, became, I just want to invest in the company, which then became a company called COVAX, which was the early test for COVID. We then merged with another company that had vaccines for Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, and cholesteremia, and we took the company public last year under Vaxxinity. That is a great question because that experience is art. It's putting all these things together. It's creating this dynamic that's woven in a deep and meaningful way, and it's putting it out there in the world to use, judge, see, be part of. There's no difference in creating a company like that than there is in creating art. It's just in a different format. I have a hard time saying no to things. I was definitely an adventurer early on. A climber, a traveler, an avid sort of adventure junkie. That has probably turned into more people junkie. I would have said deal junkie, but it's not that. I don't want to ever stop learning. My adventure comes from, oh my God, I want to learn everything I possibly can about, and then it is sort of about movies. I really like that. And then I feel like my brain's going to atrophy. Oh, I really want to understand about tax. So then I go and I do deep dives into tax. Oh, I really am now bored with that. How do I put the two together? I really want to understand gaming. I really want to invest my time in consumer stuff. I really want to, and that giant, like, speedball, snowball down a cliff effect is the adventure of sort of how my brain works. It never seems to stop, which is super frustrating for me and probably everybody in my family. But I would say maybe early on being a more physical adventurer has turned into me being now a more mental adventurer. I think the metaverse space and the interoperability between metaverse and real world is a game changer, and it's happening right now. I think there are an extraordinary amount of unopened Pandora's boxes, both good and bad, that haven't happened in that space yet. I'm deeply interested in learning about who has extraordinary technology out there in that space and talent, both people and tech-wise, that can build in that space. And I'm never bored in a day. There's always a new company, a new person, a new idea. My problem is sorting through all of it in a way that I can understand it quickly, make a quick gut call on whether or not it's something I want to keep following down the rabbit hole, and whether it's worth the time to do so, because there's a very limited amount of time in life, and I want to make sure that what I do is meaningful and that I'm using that time in a way that's valuable for me, for my family, and for the ecosystem I built around me. I mean, I want to learn more. The first thing I said to Colby was like, I want to meet this artist because that looks really cool. And the ability to be able to do that is like, if you imagine going into a museum and looking at a painting on a wall and saying, I really like that painting. I'd like to meet, Picasso, right? You can't really do that anymore in the world, in art, but it's totally possible to be able to do that here. And I think that there's just so much out there, and there's so much like messiness of all of it, that it's hard to decide the things you want to read, the things you want to see, the places you want to go, the people you want to speak to. But it's really nice to have the community that Colby and his team have built here, because I know that it's incredibly high quality. It's created in a meaningful way, and it's attracted people that that vibe with that aesthetic and that same sense of purpose and passion and place.